I'm probably not going to upload this on my main channel. I'm going to upload it on my personal channel, probably. But this is a fanfic, I guess, that that Matthew Perizot and Lee and David wrote about me. So I'm going to be reading this story, apparently. And it says here, note, if you see text surrounded by music symbols, you must sing when reading it. Okay. I'm a little teapot, short and stout. I don't know. We'll figure out what to sing, I guess. Chapter 1. The Stock Market. One fine, sunny afternoon in the middle of the summer in Edmonton, Anthony decided to go to the stock market, but he forgot to bring the coat and it was negative 90 degrees outside, even though it was summer. On his way there, he met an ugly woman named David Klein. She was the most ugliest woman he had ever seen in his entire life. Sorry, David, I don't mean it. You can even say she looked like a man. David was very offended, so he decided to throw a snowball, even though it's summer, at Anthony. However, it turned out that the snowball was made of magma. Anthony survived this ordeal because he became prepared with Oifni, trademark repellent armor. When Anthony arrived at the stock market office, he realized he forgot to zip up his mouth. The stock market man said, "Why do you have your mouth unzipped?" To which Anthony replied, "I forgot to lick my banana several times today, which is very important so your food doesn't fall out." That sounds wrong. The stock market was deeply intrigued by what Anthony said, so he gave Anthony a big raise in his salary. Okay. The Sky is Falling, Chapter 2. Suddenly, a big fat hippopotamus fell out of the sky and crushed Lee Klein, the mailman, who was delivering Anthony's winning lottery ticket. Anthony was very upset at this and decided to contact the transgender female doctor named Rosie Kleinenstein from Pickletown to revive Lee Klein. I guess... I hope nothing badly intended is meant by that. If Anthony had a huge crush on her, when Anthony went to the doctor's office, the doctor said, "I love you very much. Do you want to lick bananas together?" To Anthony said, "No, I prefer to lick no, I don't! Horny marshmallows, but I still love you anyway." Suddenly, the doctor said, "I'm actually a man, and this town isn't even called Pickletown. It's called Marble Blast Red plus Blue." Okay, for those of you uninformed, Marble Blast Red plus Blue is a mod of the game Marble Blast. Then a big fat old grumpy man called Eric Dinglebobble fell out of the sky for some reason. This man was capable of speaking German with a lowercase g. Unfortunately, the only person who's capable of speaking German with a lowercase g on the planet was Jojo Perizot, who lived in the center of the Earth at this time of year because he liked it when it was very hot and steamy. Meanwhile, Eric Dinglebobble was jumping all over the place saying, "I'm a big fat grumpy man and I like to limp lampposts." Do you like getting your tongue stuck on the lampposts? Okay, Chapter 3, Kidnapped. That evening, after the hippopotamus flew away on a magical pony to Mars, a police officer named McSpankies burst into Anthony's room and said, "You're under arrest for eating my lunch," next to a sign that said, "Free lunch for anyone who wants it." Oh, and for stealing my Oifni trademark repellent armor too. Under arrest for stealing his lunch, next to a sign that said, "Free lunch for anyone who wants it." Unfortunately, Anthony did not have enough Oifni trademark coins to pay the fine, so he had to get into the police car, and thus was kidnapped by the officer. A few hours later, when Anthony's parents, Matthew Klein and James, "Those are not my parents," were getting very worried as Anthony had not returned home, and it was 12:01 a.m. on the 8th day of the week, which does not exist. They decided to send an evil, talking, angry, ravaging camel after his kidnappers. The camel went chasing the kidnapper's car and bumped into it, resulting in the car to do a 360 That's not how no-scope works. To do a 360 no-scope turn into the FBI office building. One of the secret agents that was patrolling the office building saw them and arrested their lunch, including the camel's water bottle. Later that day, the kidnapper was charged with trillion accounts of Oifni trademark and a life sentence in banana jail. Oh no, not the camel's water bottle! Where he learned that you have to lick bananas every day to survive on the moon without oxygen. Chapter 4, Quaternions. The next day, when Anthony returned home, he realized he left his socks on the stove at 650 degrees Celsius at the grocery store in Texas, which is very far from where he lives. He decided he didn't need socks or shoes or a shirt or anything besides underpants. I would never do that. So Anthony decided to walk to the mall in his underpants. He was surprisingly effective at getting low prices because people kept yelling, "I'll give you anything you want for free if you put more clothes on." When Anthony arrived at the Microsoft Whirligig conference, starring Whirligig Klein, the show was just beginning. "Welcome, all you delicious Quaternions," he said. Did you just assume my math equation? We will be teaching you how to stop falling off of edges and explode instead." The show was really boring because Whirligig is a very interesting person, and Anthony was totally into him for— No, I'm not! What? For some reason. Suddenly, when Whirligig was showing how to stop marbles from dancing on pickled noodle chips, a big fat avocado emerged from the ground and gobbled Whirligig with its furry teeth. I'm stunned. The audience was a terrible shock, and everyone ran outside the studio to see the sky being all purple and pink. Not Whirligig, no! I don't want Whirligig to be gobbled up by a big fat avocado. That's so sad. All of a sudden, a bunch of fursuits fell from the clouds, which made everybody become a furry. Okay, fine. Chapter 5, Live News. 2 months later, after the furry rain incident, it has a name now, everybody now wears furry suits when they do everything. They even wear furry suits to death ceremonies. That's disrespectful. The only thing they don't wear furry suits to is illegal crime scenes during an eclipse on Planet Oifney trademark, which was always happening at the time. Anthony was watching live news at the time and saw a group of monkeys wearing people suits who were robbing a pickle store on Planet Oifney trademark. They stole bags of cheese curds that were extremely fattening and could be used as weapons on Planet Tomato. When the citizens of Planet Tomato saw the news coverage, they all quickly flew to their nearest next-door neighbor, Bob Luo's house, because everyone on Planet Tomato had a neighbor named Bob Luo except President Zion. Bob Luo was super furious that everyone moved to his house, so Bob Luo teleported to Planet Oifney trademark and captured the monkeys and sent them to Pickle Jail, where they had to pick up Peter Piper's pickle pepper marbles and throw them at unsuspecting pigeons to let them pickle the pickled eggs. Chapter 6, Presidency. The following day, President Zion announced that he will ban sandwiches from being eaten in public bathrooms because they were too clean, and that makes sense. The citizens of Planet Tomato were furious about the decision that President Zion announced that because citizens were already used to the fact that they used to make sandwiches to wipe their butts when they take a poop and not be eaten in public, which also makes sense. Due to that, the citizens started to riot on Street Vegetable, and that led to the whole planet explode because physics don't apply on that planet. Everyone blasted to outer space due to the force of that from the explosion. President Zion didn't blast off to outer space because he knew what would happen, and he could see the future, so he rode a pickle rocket to Planet Broccoli and conquered that planet with communism and capitalism at the same time. Possible. The citizens of Planet Broccoli were super confused because before President Zion conquered the planet, they didn't know what communism and capitalism is. Instead, they know Bronyism, oh my, which was invented by Eric Klein, Anthony's dog, in 1763. It involves robbing banks for fun and eating cucumbers without a care in the world like a chicken piloting an ostrich. Because of that, President Zion made everyone take a bunch of courses explaining what communism and capitalism are, but the citizens of Planet Broccoli didn't pay attention to class. Instead, they made a new type of Oifney TM, I thought that was a planet, known as the Kleinflop TM, which makes people turn into ostriches when they smell beef. Kleinflop TM was a revolutionary at the time, and people even praised it for its unique flavor and skunk-like smell. I wouldn't praise something for its skunk-like smell, but if you say so. Chapter 7, Strange Sounds. Meanwhile, back in Anthony's house, his mom, James Klein, bought Anthony a clownfish for his aquarium, even though clownfish are illegal in Edmonton during this time of year. So because of that, he had to keep the clownfish in his super-duper secretive basement, which has a portal to another dimension where everyone is named JoJo. Who is this JoJo guy? Gets married to kittens on Sundays, and all the characters are real. The only way to tell if it's a cartoon character is if they are not named JoJo. It's also where he keeps all of his blow-up toys in it. After that, Anthony invited his friend Matt to his house for a sleepover party. Oh, not Matt Klein? Both of them were having fun playing silly games like Touch the Tortoise, which one guy acts like a tortoise and the other guy needs to touch him or her with the nearest long thing in the house. That doesn't sound suggestive at all. And Ankle All Angles, which one guy needs to bend his ankles and the other guy needs to guess what type of angle the other guy is doing. They do it on the Discovery Channel. They do it on the Discovery Channel. There, are you happy? Which is totally fine and normal for them. Suddenly, they heard a strange noise coming out of the portal in Anthony's basement. They both went to the basement and got sucked into the portal. We're getting sucked into a portal now. Once they're on the other side of the portal, they were amazed at what was there. It looked magnificent. It was the most beautiful thing they had ever saw in their entire life. So beautiful, in fact, they both cried out tears of joy. They couldn't even process what they were witnessing in their brains. It was a large group of big floating heads from Rick and Morty singing, "Tick-tock like a clock, just snorting my socks. Whoa, they're purple. Whoa, whoa, which then they explode like a firework. Baby, you're a firework! Alright, Chapter 8, Lost. That part didn't have any music notes around it. I just did that voluntarily. You're welcome. Anthony and Matt were really intrigued on what they saw, so they went to explore the dimension they were in. In amazement, they saw floating islands with really weird and abnormal creatures that looked like a pickle in the shape of a stop sign. There were even evil stop signs. There were even more weird things they saw, like a big fat old grumpy man licking lampposts. Eric? Wait, Anthony exclaimed. Isn't that the guy I met? The guy who I met just outside the doctor's place? Anthony said in real shock. But despite all of that, Matthew was more shocked about what was going on at the time. It seemed like they were having a green, but yet again it felt so real. Suddenly, an upside-down tomato appeared and sucked everything in its path. Anthony and Klein were in big trouble and tried to run from the tomato. Unfortunately, they couldn't, and they got sucked in. They were afraid of what will happen. Will they die? Will they be able to go back home and live their normal lives? Will they see the light again? Both of them got knocked out by the debris in the tornado. Oh, that's not a tomato. It's a tornado. It's difficult because the R and the N look like an M. A few minutes later, they woke up, but unfortunately, they couldn't see each other. Both of them realized they had been split apart by the tornado and had to find a way to meet each other, or so they wouldn't be able to see the light of day ever again. So they started to search. It's like Schism. They searched high and low, near and far, and yet still unable to find each other. Chapter 9, Finding Each Other. Anthony found a stranger while on the way to find Matthew. He asked the stranger if he could help Anthony, and luckily enough, there was a stranger who was actually a magician. The magician then point out his wand from his sparkly rope and said, "Arga, barga, ooga, baloo." Then magically, Anthony was teleported to a strange location in which pickles can talk and walk on two legs. I'm disappointed I didn't get teleported to a Wonderland level, and have two arms and are all named Rick Sanchez. Luckily, there was a sign there that said Talking Pickle Havern, Dimension 0.25 Texture Scale, that's a Quark joke, which did help quite a bit on knowing where he was. Then, he asked the people that lived there for help, but unfortunately Anthony didn't know what the moose they said, so he's kind of in a sticky situation despite the goo cleaning the machine in the room. Meanwhile, for Matthew, while he was finding Anthony, he stumbled upon a big castle on fire with a princess named Baton at the top yelling, "Help the Mega Marble Kids! The castle is on fire!" I have to do that in more of a Baton voice. "Help the Mega Marble Kids! The castle is on fire!" Matthew then saw a group of fire groundhog fairies flying to the castle. They saved everyone from the fire. Matthew then asked the fire groundhog fairies if they could help him find Anthony. The fire groundhog fairies were really helpful and helped Matthew by throwing him into a mystical Make-A-Wish fountain where you can wish anything you want, so Matthew used his chance to wish Anthony to teleport to his side. He wished with all of his might and it worked, and Anthony suddenly appeared right in front of him, and Anthony was a bit puzzled, but they all thought about But all they thought about was that they finally met each other and they can finally go home. They quickly zapped right into Anthony's house and found out everybody was dead. The end! Bonus chapter. Stupid stuff that isn't part of the story, oh my oifney. Stupid stuff that isn't part of the story, oh my oifney. Matt, oh my oifney, are you sure we can't steal a cactus from your mother's tomato sandwich? Maker 7.6 2003 keygen crack torrent download free working 2017? 2003 and 2017? Matt, all of a sudden, Anthony sent Matthew $1 million worth of chips in the mail and satisfied his hunger. Matt, also some guy, Bob, stole Anthony's BMW that he stole. I don't drive a BMW, that he stole from some guy named Bob last week. Why? Because I don't know why. Lee, how about a plot twist at Chap 10 and end it? Matt, that sounds fun. Also, I want to leave this section in here and run for little lulz. Great. I have no idea what I just read, yet I have a perfect idea of what I just read. I just read a bunch of stuff that was written by Matt and Lee, completely at random. It's interesting, for sure. Like, it has a certain blah 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 style to it. You know, you can just keep going and going and going and going and going, and basically just, you know, continue to read this thing just bam 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 bam, if you know what I mean. It has a certain voice to it. It's a good example of voice in literature, and I think that this is worth printing out and making into a physical book. I think that this should be a physical book and that it should exist in libraries. In fact, I'm going to print this out, make it into a physical book, and I'm going to take it to my local library and put it on the shelf for someone else to find. How's that? That's great, because this deserves to be read, and publishers just won't see, they won't understand, the deep artistic meaning of this beautiful story, this beautiful fanfic. That isn't, I guess it's not, I don't know, does this qualify as a fanfic? It's higher quality than pretty much anything on Wattpad, I guess.